Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. Today we're going to take a look at the new proposed Cleric domains. This is part of the Wednesday live stream that some of the developers put out yesterday. They went through some of the proposals of these domains and what they would include, and there's actually a lot of them. Again, like I said yesterday, if you watched my video from yesterday, none of this is final. This is all just proposed stuff that's being talked about. It probably will change, and it might change in the future. So if you don't like something that's here, don't be like too concerned about it. It's just this is kind of the first draft as I understand it. So you can see right now the posts on the forums that kind of summarized what the devs are talking about here. Gives a summary of each domain. I believe this is actually a copy and paste from the Players Council forum, which Cordova showed this to everyone anyway, so it's not like we're looking at something that's secret. So it starts out with Turn Undead, and I made a whole video about this yesterday, so I'm not going to discuss this anymore. If you want to hear about the proposed changes to Turn Undead, then just look at my video from yesterday. I will link it in the description below. So let's go ahead and just go through each of these domains. So I just want to give my just initial impressions of this. I haven't looked at this too much. I briefly looked at it before I made this video, so this is kind of my first impressions. So essentially how this is going to work is starting at level 2, Cleric's going to pick a domain which is essentially going to just auto grant certain feats and abilities like SLAs, maybe additions to stuff like melee power, maybe resistances, things like that. It also has some effects. These domains have different effects on the new Turn Undead ability. Some of them expand that ability in different ways. Yesterday I already discussed there's a death domain we'll go over here in a minute that actually makes your Turn Undead destroy undead like it does now. And some of these others do a few different things. I think like there's an animal domain, I'll go here in a minute, I think that causes your Turn Undead to work against animals, things like that. So let's just walk through. First one is air domain, which I hope this is big enough for you guys to see. You might have to maximize the YouTube screen. Level 2, you gain a +1 to the DC of your evocation spells, and this increases by 1 at 6th, 12th, and 18th cleric level. Your lightning spells use light spell power, and your light spells use lightning spell power if it's higher. So it's not like it always uses those spell power, it's only if it's higher. And your Turn Undead also works on elementals. When you turn undead, your cleric, your party gains a bonus to reflex saves equal to half your cleric level, and points of resistance equal to twice your cleric level for 20 seconds. Level 5, you gain Featherfall as an SLA. Level 9, you gain Cyclonic Blast as an SLA. And level 14, you gain Chain Lightning as an SLA. This one obviously is going to be good for anyone who wants high cleric evocation DCs for your implosion type spells. Clerics who like to use that. It'll probably be a no-brainer for those types of classes, but unless you're going to go for high evocation DCs, I don't see many clerics going for this. The Turn Undead working on elementals, that's a little weird, and let me just start by giving my first comment. They're expanding Turn Undead to work on different things that aren't actually undead, which is a little weird. I'm not sure how I feel about that because it doesn't really make sense, because Turn Undead working on elementals are not undead. I don't know if it's a bad thing, it's just a little weird. So Featherfall here is not really valuable. Cyclonic Blast, it's a decent spell. Chain Lightning, decent spell, but I think you're going to mainly want the evocation DCs for this. So if you're not interested in that, you probably won't use it. So it'll get some use from some classes, but probably not one of the most popular domains. Next is Animal Domain. You gain +1 spot, +1 listen, and +1 reflex saves for every 2 cleric levels. Your Turn Undead works on animals, just like I discussed a minute ago. When you use Turn Undead, your party gains points of Constitution equal to half your cleric level for 20 seconds. Level 5, you gain 20 hit points per cleric level. You also add twice your cleric level to your hit points for each epic level you have gained. That is kind of a ridiculous amount of hit points. That means if you take 20 cleric, you're going to get like, let's see, from the base you're going to get like 400 hit points from levels 1 to 20, and then twice your cleric level to your hit points for each epic level. So that means you're going to get like 800 total hit points if you get to level 30 pure cleric, which is kind of nuts. That's a lot, but I don't know if it's necessarily like overpowered in any means. It's just a lot. Like because the thing about this is, as you'll see it in the rest of this domain, 15 fortification bypass and snow slide SLA, you aren't gaining really any DPS from this, whereas a lot of these other domains have really solid, really big like DPS increases that you'll see in a minute. And since you're kind of passing on all that DPS in return for hit points, it's going to make a very survivable cleric, extremely survivable cleric, but your DPS is not going to be very good. So, and you're also going to be missing out on some additional healing abilities from a healing domain that I'll talk about in a minute. So I'm not sure if this is overpowered. I mean, 800 seems like a ton. Maybe that should be lowered some, but even at 800, I'm not sure if that's like overpowered. It's just like if you take this, you'll kind of just be a big HP bag with not very good DPS. I don't know if that's overpowered. It's just kind of funny. So let's go to the next one. Chaos Domain. You gain +1 to will saving throws for every 2 cleric levels. That's very nice to get those will saves. Will probably not the most, it's not as important as like reflex saves in my opinion, but it's still a nice save to have. That's, I mean, +10 will saves, that's a lot. When you use Turn Undead, your party gains 1d20 points of universal spell power and 1d10 points if each rolled separately of melee power, range power, and PRR and MRR. That's it's okay. I think that's not really that useful because, well, what's the duration on that? It doesn't say the duration. It really, I wonder what the duration is, because 1d20, so like an average of like 10 universal spell power plus like an average of like 5 melee power, range power. I'm thinking if it's like a 20-second version like the other ones, it's not really going to be that useful, but if it's like some kind of permanent buff, that's pretty damn good. Level 5 Chaos Hammer as an SLA. That's not a very useful spell anyways, so I don't really see that as very good. Your spell critical increased by 3, that's pretty good. And Prismatic Spray as an SLA. This seems like the weakest domain so far, unless that's like a permanent bonus like during the entire quest or until you shrine for melee power, range power, and MR. That's not really that good of a domain. I mean, even if it is permanent, it's still not even that great compared to some of the power these other domains have. So I think I need more than like +10 will saves to really entice me to take this domain. I don't really see someone taking it, just because if you're a spellcaster, you're probably going to take one of the like DC domains or one of the more spellcasting focused domains. If you're like a melee cleric, you're going to take one of the melee focused domains. And even if you want to be like a survivable cleric, you're probably going to take like the animal domain that we already discussed. So I don't really see what kind of cleric is really attracted to this. It just kind of does a little bit of a lot of things, but nothing super well. So it probably won't be used that much. Okay, next is Death Domain, and this is the one I discussed yesterday in my video. This is the one that changes your turn undead to do destruction. Like it destroys undead instantly, just like turn undead works right now. So that's pretty cool. So if you want to focus on turning, you'll have to take this domain, essentially, unless you're just okay with the stun. But if you're going to get that high of a turning DC on your cleric, then I don't see why you wouldn't take this domain. So another big perk to this is you gain +1 to the DC of your necromancy spells, and that increases at your 6th level, 12th level, and 18th cleric level. So that's like +4 necro DCs, so that's really good for your necro focused clerics. You know, those who want to use destruction and things. And level 5 Death Ward SLA, you already have the spell, so it just saves you little spell points. Necrotic Ray SLA at level 9, that's decent. This is the big one, Destruction SLA at level 14. That's pretty huge, because you're getting that, which is going to... One of the big problems that Cleric has always had with DC casting and Insta-Death casting is it's been so expensive spell point wise. So to get an SLA for Destruction, like, that's huge. So it's going to be really good. This is going to be a really popular domain. It gets the turning bonus, and it gets the great bonus to the DCs of Necro with the great Necro SLA. So I think this might be the most popular one domain so far that I've seen. This is a really good one. My one complaint, and I kind of commented this on the forums yesterday, is I'm not sure that the turn undead destruction effect really makes sense in this domain. I think that it makes sense to have a DC like necro focused domain. I don't really. It just seems arbitrary that the turn undead is thrown into this. I don't really see it making sense with a death domain. You think that it would make more sense to put the insta death to undead in like a light focused domain, something like that. So I'm not sure if this is the right place for that. Let's move on to Destruction Domain. Level 2, you gain +1 melee and range power, and you gain another point each at level 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20 Cleric. So that's what, +3, like 6, +6 melee range power. That's a decent little bonus. You can cast, this is actually pretty nuts. You can cast your Cleric spells while raging, and your spells are no longer penalized by rage spells. So with this domain, we're going to see some funky Cleric Barbarian builds, because you can now rage as a Barbarian and still cast Cleric spells. It's just kind of weird. That's going to make some really interesting builds. I wonder like what level that takes effect, like at what level you need Cleric to get that effect of being able to cast Cleric spells while raging. I'm wondering if we'll see like Barbarians maybe with a small Cleric splash or something. I don't know if maybe this effect works on some of the like Epic Destiny abilities to let Barbarians heal better. I don't know, we'll see, but there should be some really cool build possibilities with this. When you use Turn Undead, your party gains a divine bonus to melee and range power equal to half your Cleric level for 20 seconds. That's pretty good. So that would be like a 10 like a bonus of like 10 melee power if you're level 20 Cleric to melee and ranged. That's not bad at all. The only problem is it's 20 seconds, so I don't know that many clerics are actually that are Destruction Domain clerics are going to take the time to actually use this. This is one of those effects, like if you ever watched my like War Priest rant video from, it's probably been like 2 years now ago. It's on my homepage, if you want, on my YouTube channel somewhere. But if you watch that video, one of my biggest complaints with the War Priest tree as it existed, and hopefully they're going to get down to some good changes on that, is that I really don't like 20-second effects. It doesn't really matter like what the boost is. I think that most players aren't really going to play around with a 20-second effect that much. Like it has to be extremely good, like a really, really good vital effect for players to like actually take the time to do that. Like some things make sense on paper to add ability that would be effective and really nice bonus for 20 seconds, but are players actually going to hit the keyboard button for that ability in practice? Are you actually going to spend the time to do that? I don't know. We'll have to see. But I'm not sure that 10 melee range power is enough, enough of an incentive to keep hitting that button. I mean, maybe it is, maybe I'm wrong, but it just seems like kind of tedious to only give a 20-second bonus. Like I would rather have a smaller bonus that lasted for a few minutes than have a good, like a really nice bonus that lasted for 20. So level 5, durability damage for your items is reduced by 75%. Who cares? Because you can repair everything with plat, and plat's pretty much useless these days. Level 9, your weapons do extra plus weapon. That's okay, I'll take it, but it's not really that big of a bonus. Level 14, your weapon strikes add a stack of improved destruction. Okay, that's pretty nice. You get a nice little debuff ability. I think that reduces fortification by, I don't remember the percentage, but I think that's a fortification debuff. So this is an okay ability. I think really what this domain does is it's going to give you some really interesting raging cleric builds. I see this more of a flavor domain. Like there's I've looked at these domains beforehand a little bit, and there's a domain I'll get to in a minute that I think is going to be the go-to domain for your melee focused clerics. This one I think doesn't give the DPS bonus that domain does, so I don't think this is going to be used that much. The main use again is going to be for your like people who want to try mixing rage into their clerics, so it's going to be kind of a flavor domain I think in its current state. Okay, next is Earth Domain. At level 2, you gain +2 acid spell power per cleric level. Your acid spells will use light power spell power if it is higher. Your light spells will use acid spell power if it's higher. And I think this is the second domain that's had this effect. So what this is going to do is essentially let you focus more in one spell power and not have to worry about equipping multiple items to boost multiple spell powers. So it might save you an inventory slot. Your Turn Undead also works on elementals, and I think another domain did the same thing. So that's, that's decent. I can think of a few quests where that might be helpful, but it's not really that important. When you use Turn Undead, your party gains a bonus to fort saves equal to half your cleric level and points of acid resistance equal to twice your cleric level for 20 seconds. I'm wondering if the acid resistance stacks with like ship buffs and like resist energy and other resist elements and other spells like that. If it does, it's a nice little boost, I guess, but it's just very situational because it's just acid resistance. It's not like total resistance to all elements, which would be a lot better, obviously. But I think that overall, it's not really, I don't think if you take this domain, you're really going to bother to cast Turn Undead, unless maybe you want to get through like a trap that's based on a fort save. But again, I think most traps are based on reflex saves. So I'm not really sure what you would use this for. It's probably going to go unused as far as your turns go. It just doesn't seem like to be useful in that many situations. Level 5, you gain Melf's Acid Arrow SLA. Level 9, Stone Skin SLA. Level 14, Earthquake SLA. Whoa! Earthquake? Wow, that's pretty big. Like, Earthquake is one of the best crowd control spells in the game. I don't know how I feel about that, because while Earthquake, to my knowledge, is a spell in pen and paper D&D for Cleric, in DDO, that's kind of been the iconic Druid spell. So giving that to Cleric definitely causes some homogenation between the Cleric and Druid class. Like, you're kind of jumping on Druid turf right now. So I don't know how I feel about that. That's definitely a tough discussion that I hope the devs have had and the Players Council has had, because there's probably some Druid players that's going to be upset and feel like it's important that they balance this correctly, because if they don't balance this correctly with the Earthquake SLA, it could essentially invalidate the Druid class to some extent. So say that Clerics come out in this pass and they're more powerful than Druids and they have the Earthquake spell, I think a lot of Druids will be like, well, why am I playing Druid? I should just switch to Cleric. So that's a concern. They need to make sure that Druids have clear advantages over Clerics, or Druids have clear advantages over Clerics in ways that matter, so that Clerics don't kind of take over Druid's turf too much and like move into possibly invalidating that class, because a lot of the buffs we're seeing here and that I talked about a little yesterday are pretty powerful. So Clerics are going to be getting a lot better through this pass, so we want to make sure that the balance is there. Okay, next is Fire Domain. You gain +2 fire spell power combustion per Cleric level. Your fire spells will use light spell power if it is higher. Your light spells will use fire spell power if it is higher. So similar to the last domain, you're kind of saving some inventory slots here from only having to focus on one type of spell power. When you use Turn Undead, your party gains points of fire resistance equal to twice your Cleric level for 20 seconds. Okay, like, yeah, certainly there's some quests and quests where that's going to be really useful to have fire resistance. I'm just wondering, again, how that stacks. Again, Turn Undead working on elementals, so elementals aren't going to like Clerics very much. Level 5, Scorching Ray SLA. Level 9, Wall of Fire SLA. Wow, that's pretty good. Like, Wall of Fire is one of the best leveling spells, so it's kind of weird that Clerics are getting these arcane spells, but Wall of Fire, that's definitely going to be this might be a leveling domain. In level 14, you gain Firestorm as an SLA. Firestorm's not really that useful. Just the damage isn't really that great. So it seems to me like the really big draw to this domain is Wall of Fire, which is a great spell for leveling. So it's not too great like in epics, but it's really good in heroics. So I see a lot of Clerics probably using this domain to level, and then possibly like swapping into a different domain. I don't know if you can actually swap. You might have to do some comment, like you might have to TR in order to swap your domain. So I don't know how this will work. If you could probably do like an epic TR, maybe level up to 30 and do like an epic reincarnation and swap it that way. I'm not sure how it'll work, if you can swap or not. but it looks like this looks like a leveling domain. Okay, next is good domain. You gain +2 light spell power per cleric level. You gain +1 of the heal skill for every 2 cleric levels. So that's good. I mean, light spell power is really important for clerics. We got like your divine punishment. You've got a lot of like nice little light spells. I think in divine disciple that this will certainly synergize with. When you use turn undead, your party gains temporary hit points equal to 5 times your cleric level. You know, that's okay, but that's really not that much. So it'll be 5 times your cleric level for 20 seconds. So that's going to be a maximum of 100 hit points for 20 seconds. 20 seconds is really small, and 100 hit points, especially in like epics and stuff, is not that much. So I don't think that's that important. Level 5, you gain Defiant Vengeance as an SLA. Level 9, you gain Blade Berry as an SLA. That's really nice. Level 14, evil damage is reduced by 20%. You gain +4 on save throws versus evil creatures. I don't think evil damage is all that popular. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know that that's that big of a deal. I mean, gaining the light spell power here is nice, but I feel if you want like amazing blade barriers, you're probably going to want the evocation DCs from the other domain I just discussed earlier. Although having the blade barriers and SLA is nice, but I feel like Blade Barrier isn't one of those extremely expensive spell. Like it costs a bit of spell points, but it's not like as expensive as other spells. So I'm not sure if you'd want to give up the evocation DCs to take this domain over the other one. So I'm not sure how powerful this domain is. It could probably use a little work. Probably lags a little bit behind the others. Okay, let's get to the healing domain. This looks like the heal bot domain. So level 2, you gain +2 positive spell power per cleric level. So that's pretty nice. +40 addition to positive spell power at level 20. When you use turn undead, your party gains points of healing amp equal to your cleric level for 20 seconds. That's not too bad. Like if you're in a really hard like Reaper dungeon or something and you need to like get through a fight, that might be okay, but again, it's only 20 seconds though, so that kind of hurts it a lot. So level 5, you gain Cure Moderate Wounds as an SLA. I mean, that's okay, but it's not like your most powerful heal. Level 9, you gain Panacea. I never knew how to pronounce it. Panica as an SLA. Then level 14, your healing spells are quickened as if you had the quicken meta magic. Alright, so this saves you a feat slot. So, I don't know that this is really that great. I mean, all it really offers is a free feat slot and +40 positive spell power. So yeah, this looks a little weak. I think they should probably boost this a little bit to make it a little more, to incentivize it a little bit more, because it's supposed to be the healing domain, but it actually doesn't help your healing all that much. I mean, 40 positive spell power is nice, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much. So, yeah, I don't know that that one's really worth it right now. Okay, next is Knowledge Domain. Level 2, you gain +2 to all skills. Okay, that's decent. When you use Turn Undead, your party gains points of intelligence equal to half your cleric level for 20 seconds. That's kind of weird. Okay. Level 5, you gain Suggestion as an SLA. Level 9, you gain Feeble Mind. Okay, I don't know that those are all that powerful. Level 14, you gain half your cleric. Level of Spell Pen, you gain +1 in the DCs of all spells. This increases to +2 at cleric level 16 and +3 at cleric level 12. Wait. That's a lot of Spell Pen. Like, people do multiple lives to get, like, heroic past lives to get that kind of Spell Pen. Like, that's a lot of Spell Pen. Wow. That's really good. That will probably be pretty popular for those who want the Spell Pen, who really want to land those those insta kill spells at like high levels. I don't run those type of builds, so someone would have to like comment, like maybe comment below and tell me like how much of a difference that makes in terms of like current DCs, like current levels of like spell pen that clerics can currently get, and what new monsters and current content this could put them over the edge to be able to actually hit with their spells. Like, I don't know what kind of difference that makes, but it seems like, just looking at it, to be a lot of spell pen. Okay, Law Domain, level 2, you gain +1 to the DCs of your enchantment spells. This increases by +1 at levels 6, 12, and 18. Alright. When you use Turn Undead, your party gains points of wisdom to have your cleric level for 20 seconds, so that's like a temporary boost to will saves. Level 5, Order's Wrath as an SLA, not very useful as a spell. Greater Command as an SLA at level 9, that's pretty nice to get some crowd control. Level 14, Chaos damage is reduced by 20 and plus fourth saving throws versus chaotic creatures. This is like probably for very niche builds who just really want to build like an enchantment focused cleric for like flavor, but I don't know that this is, like, in terms of a power level, this is probably not one of the most powerful law domains. It's probably more for clerics who just want to be kind of crowd control, which is fine, but it's not, probably won't be one of them. It probably be one of the least popular. Okay, next is Luck Domain. You gain +1 to your Fortitude, Reflex, and Will saving throws. This increases by +1 at level 6, 12, and 18 Cleric. Okay, so that's nice. I mean, Reflex saves are really useful. Fortitude saves are really nice, and that's usually the... well, actually, never mind. So yeah, that's really nice. When you use Turn Undead, your party gains a Divine bonus to saving throws equal to half your Cleric level for 20 seconds. I mean, that sounds like nice on paper, but in reality, like, you should be building your characters anyways to have high enough saves, so you shouldn't build your characters, like other party members shouldn't be building their characters to rely on a cleric turn ability to meet the saving throw requirements they need to make to not fail their checks versus certain monsters. So it's probably like 99% of the time you're just going to end up like boosting saves like higher than they need to be. Level 5, you gain Displacement as an SLA. Kind of useless with green steel clickies everywhere, but still nice to have, I guess. I'm curious if the duration is longer than green steel clickies. I would assume yes, but if the duration of this SLA will make it more useful if it's a lot longer. Level 9, you gain 1d8 to the DC of your spells. Level 14, if you are killed... Wait, this level 9 is kind of confusing. 1d8 to the DC of your spells. So does that mean that each spell you cast is going to have like a different DC? Do you make that roll? I assume you make that roll every time you cast a spell. I don't know that that's... well... most DC casters, they want to get their DCs up to a point where they can make they can beat the saving throws of monsters. They don't really want to be gambling with an ability like this, so I don't know if it's really that practical. Level 14, because you don't want to be just like throwing out like these high cost spells not knowing if it's going to land or not. Level 14, if you are killed, you miraculously survive, gaining 50% of your maximum hit points. This cannot occur more than once per 5 minutes. That's kind of funny. I mean, you look at that and think it's really overpowered, but really, in an age where there's things like Gibber's Blades, and I think there's a cleric ability that can do that, bring you back to life as well, I believe, but really Gibber's Blades being around kind of like negate this as being too overpowered, and you gain like 50% of your hit points back, so it's probably not like as powerful as you would think. But I think overall, like, I don't think this is the most useful domain because it doesn't really focus on any one thing. It just kind of gives you a few, like, it's kind of my problem with some of the prior domains is it doesn't focus on any one area. Like, you're probably going to want to take the domain that gives you the biggest boost in the area you're focused in. So if you're focused on like Necro DC spells, you're going to want to take the Necro domain. Melee DPS, you'll take a melee DPS domain. This is more of like probably for someone who's not as like serious, I guess, about the game, who just wants to take something that they think is cool, which that's fine. There's room in the game for that. It's just probably not going to be one of the more popular ones. Magic domain, you gain +1 the DC of your evocation spells. This increases by 1 at 6, 12, and 18 Cleric. And that's obviously really nice. I think there was another domain. I think the first domain we discussed also gave it bonus to your DC of your evocation spells. Turn Undead. Now your party now gains a divine bonus to universal spell power equal to twice your cleric level for 20 seconds. So that's decent, but again, the 20-second duration kind of destroys it there in terms of it being practical. Chain Missile SLA at level 5, level 9, you gain a number of spell points equal to your character level times 10. Well, wait, that's so like 300 spell points at level 30. That's a decent little bonus. Level 14, you gain points of universal spell power equal to twice your cleric level. That's okay. So yeah, this is actually, it sounds like a decent little domain for your evocation focused clerics. So it's definitely a choice, an option. You might want to take this if you just really want the extra spell points, perhaps. Protection domain. So this is probably your tanky cleric. Level 2, you gain 1 to AC, PRR, and MRR. This increases by 1 at level 5, 10, 15, and 20. Okay, when you use Turn Undead, your party gains a divine bonus to PRR and MRR equal to twice your cleric level for 20 seconds. Again, that's kind of nice, but 20-second duration kind of destroys it. Level 5, Night Shield SLA, we already have the spell, so I don't see that as that useful. Level 9, Radiant Force Field SLA, that's okay, not really the most useful of spells. Level 14, your armor class and PRR are increased by your cleric level. You know, like, say it's like you're like level 30, PRR plus 30 is, you know, that's a nice little bonus, but it's not like that much in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, I don't know. This doesn't really seem to really appeal to many builds that I can see. I mean, maybe if for like a build you want to focus on like an AC cleric, I guess this would kind of work. But with defense today, you kind of want to focus on a lot of areas, like not just one. So it's not that like the bonuses in this domain isn't nice. It's just I think you would get more. I think most builds would get more out of choosing a different domain. Strength domain, you gain +2 strength and become immune to strength damage. Alright. When you use Turn Undead, your party gains a divine bonus to strength equal to half your cleric level. Okay. I wonder if that means you as well, because if it affects you as well, it's going to really help with your like tactic DCs. Your reflex saves are now based on strength instead of dex. That's really nice if you're going for a melee cleric, obviously. Level 9, you become immune to knockdown. Level 14, you always make your saving throw. So this seems to be going for like a tactics cleric type build, I assume. So if you wanna like do stunning blow on your cleric or something like that, this might be nice. But again, it really comes down to if that 20-second turn applies to like your DCs as well, like your strength bonus as well. But I think overall, we're going to get to some other, even the first melee cleric domain I discussed is probably better than this. And I think the next one we'll get to is a lot better, that we'll get to in a minute. The war domain, which I'll get to in just a second. Okay, Nexus Sun Domain, you gain +2 to fire and light spell power per cleric level. When you use Turn Undead, a Flame Strike comes down. Okay, that's nice, I guess, but it's not going to be that much damage. Level 5, Searing Light SLA. That's something nice you can spam. Level 9, Flame Strike SLA. Again, not the most useful of spells. Like Cleric Fire spells in DDO aren't the most powerful. Like the damage is pretty lacking. And then level 14, Sunburst. So this is actually really good Cleric to kind of nuke undead if you want to be like an undead nuker, because Sunburst is really good against undead. So that's pretty cool. Like if you want to do that. But again, you might. The problem with this Sun Domain though is I think it might be overshadowed by your Death Domain. If you want to go for like a turning cleric and actually insta kill undead, you might want to go with that option instead. But if you really want to focus on like the like a light nuking cleric, this could be a good option. So this is probably fine. Trickery Domain, +1 to DC of enchantment spells. And this increases at 6, 12, and 18 Cleric. When you use Turn Undead, your party gains points of charisma equal to half your Cleric level for 20 seconds. Probably not going to be used. It doesn't sound very useful. Level 5 Invis SLA. There you have clickies everywhere, so that doesn't seem to be that useful. Mind Fog SLA, not kind of a situational spell. And then 14 Charm Monster Mass SLA. I know apparently Charm is really good in Reaper now. I haven't played like hardly any Reaper because I've been away from the game for a while, so I don't know if that's a big thing or not. But unless Charm is like really good in high-end Reaper stuff, then I'm not sure how useful this will be, because enchantment isn't one of the most popular Cleric schools. Okay, next War Domain, and this is the one I'm going to take, and I think this one is going to be hands down the one you're going to take if you're going to be a melee Cleric and go for like melee DPS. Level 2, you gain +1 damage with melee and ranged weapons, and this increases at 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20 Cleric. So that's a static damage bonus. That's really not even hardly significant. Like +5 damage is not that much. Turn Undead, now your party now gains a divine bonus to melee power and range power equal to half your Cleric level for 20 seconds. Again, 20 seconds kind of ruins it. If it was longer, you might take the time to cast it, but I probably won't bother. Level 5, you gain proficiency in all martial and exotic. That's I guess that's kind of useful for the exotic. The martial proficiency is pretty useless, since if you're serious about building a melee Cleric, you're going to splash some melee classes and get your proficiencies anyways. But I guess, say if you want to build like a two-handed fighting Cleric and like dual wield Kopeshes or something, then the exotic weapon proficiency is nice. It will save you a feat, and that's really good on a Cleric, because Clerics are very feat starved. Level 9, your one-handed weapons have a base damage die of 1d10. Your two-handed weapons have a base damage die of 2d8. I would have to do the math to see like what kind of difference that makes. This will not reduce the base damage die if it is higher. Okay, this is the big thing. At level 14, you get Holy Sword as an SLA, which is a big DPS increase, increasing your crit multiplier, and I think your crit damage range, I believe. I'd have to look it up in the wiki, but it's a really good, really big DPS boost. And I think this is pretty controversial, because this, again, like the Earthquake SLA did with the Druids, this kind of infringes on the Paladins' territory. This kind of leads us into homogenization of this class with the Paladin class. I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing. If it was me, I probably would have given Cleric a similar boost, perhaps, but changed the name and not called it Holy Sword, just because that is kind of, in DDO at least, Holy Sword is like a Paladin thing. So I probably would have given them a similar bonus if I was going to do this, but call it something different. Also, like I said with the Druid thing, it's very important that the developers balance this correctly, because we do not want Clerics. Clerics should not be more powerful melee, like they should not be able to beat Paladins in melee DPS, because Clerics have a lot more utility than Paladins. It only makes sense from a balance perspective. Clerics have access to all these great healing spells and buffs, so they should not have as good a DPS as Paladins. So if the devs go forward with this, they got to be really careful and make sure they get their math down really good, and make sure they get player input with the math, because we do not want Clerics to out DPS Paladins. But that said, Clerics do need a DPS increase. Like Clerics need a melee DPS increase, even though we don't want them to be at Paladin level. Cleric DPS is really lagging behind, so something like this does make sense as a bonus. Okay, finally, the last one. Water Domain. You gain water breathing. Not very useful, since, you know, it's not hard to get a water underwater action item. Gain +1 swimming and +2 cleric, cold spell power per Cleric level. Your cold spells use positive spell power if it's higher, and your healing spells use cold spell power if it is higher. Your Turn Undead works on elementals again. When you use Turn Undead, your party gains a bonus to will saves equal to half your Cleric level, and points of cold resistance equal to twice your Cleric level for 20 seconds. Again, probably not going to be very useful. probably not going to be used much, because cold resistance is really situational, and getting a temporary boost to will saves is also a very situational thing. Level 5 Solid Fog SLA, level 9 Cone of Cold SLA, and level 14 Creeping Cold SLA. Okay, so that's decent. I mean, if you want to have a cold, like if for some reason you want to build a cleric that's like cold spell power focused, this would be your domain. So it's okay in that regard. Like, I have no problem with it. If you want to build kind of a quasi sorcerer slash healing character, this might be a decent option. So I think it's fine. This definitely opens up more build options. So yeah, guys, that is actually it for all the domains. That was a lot of them. So I guess overall thoughts is, I'm not sure if this is the way a lot of players wanted domains to be implemented, but I think from what the developers have to work with, this is a fine step. I don't have any issues with it. I think that they need to be really careful on the balance of like like I mentioned earlier, the Earthquake SLA and the Holy Sword SLA, and they might want to discuss if they want to give clerics something similar, like a similar type like boost or bonus that doesn't quite as infringe as much on the Druid and Paladin classes, because there is some homogenization going on there with those abilities. I think that my other big complaint is that they should probably reconsider putting the Destroy Undead ability in the Death domain and move it to one of the more light focused domains. I think that makes more sense, and it makes more sense from a balance perspective, because I think if you're going to get a Destruction SLA and DC bonuses to Necro, I don't think you also need to put the Turn Undead Destroy ability in that domain as well. It makes that domain, I think, maybe a little too overly centralized. And what you want to do with these domains is create a variety of choices. Like, ideally, there should be as many players dispersed across these domains as possible. They should all have something valuable to offer. So yeah, guys, that's going to be it. I think overall I like the domain zone. I like the direction, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the developers do with these domains in their final form. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and please comment below. Let me know what you think about anything I said or just anything about these domains in general. And again, if you want to give input on this, I would advise you to go to the DDO forums and give it there, because that's where the devs are going to read your comments. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time. Take care.